All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Canelo Alvarez's favoritism and bias that he benefits from by the WBC is completely out of control. They are now giving this man the vacant or having him fight for the vacant WBC 168-pound title against Callum Smith, the biggest bum in the 168-pound division. This is from the franchise champion of 160 pounds that was allowed to duck. How many different ways is the WBC going to pander to Canelo Alvarez? It is beyond ridiculous. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Look, I have a wife that has loved me, given me children, taken care of me during hard times for over 20 years. And I am thoroughly convinced that she does not love me anywhere nearly as much as Mauricio Suleiman loves Canelo Alvarez. Because although I love my wife and I love my children, man, I would be hard pressed to be out here in public bending rules, changing stuff, and to give them every benefit of the doubt in the public eye. Somebody would have to say, come on, Fanon, that's nepotism. Stop treating your son, stop giving your son every opportunity that comes up, okay? Stop giving your daughter every opportunity that comes up. You know, there are other qualified people out here. That type of scenario. That is where we are with the WBC and Canelo Alvarez. They are so head over heels in love with the man or desperate to keep him happy. I'm not sure which one it is, that they are bending rules, changing rules, inventing rules just to give this dude whatever it is he asks for. Is this boxing or not? Do people have to earn championships and fight the best people? Or is it just here so you can have a celebration, like a celebration amongst your friends for the fighters that you like, right? Because that's what it seems like the WBC is doing. WBC, before I get into this particular championship, because somebody could say, come on, Fanon, he's obviously one of the best 168-pounders in the world. He won a championship at 168. He won one at 175. He won some at 154 and at 160. Why can't they? Dude, if it was just him being able to fight for this vacant belt, that would be okay. But you have to think of all the other things that the WBC is doing for this guy. And it is just one thing in a long line of course they're going to do this. It's Canelo. See, it's the explanation for the things that happen with Canelo is, come on, guys, it's Canelo. No, not come on, guys, it's Canelo. Canelo is a fighter, dude. Canelo's not going to be fighting 10 years from now. He wasn't a man 10 years ago. Hold the man to the same standards as everybody else and let this dude prove he's the best by fighting the best and stop handing him everything. Combuterol. The WBC lowered their standard for their testing limit for performance-enhancing drugs to make Canelo Alvarez happy after Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for Combuterol. Is that a coincidence? Canelo Alvarez pops dirty for Combuterol, then within a year and a half, at the first given opportunity, the WBC raises the levels of the performance-enhancing drug that he got tested positive for. They raise the level above the amount that he had in his blood, in his system, which means now they didn't punish Canelo Alvarez for testing positive. They changed the rule to make sure that he didn't have to be troubled again. What sense does that make? Then you have a franchise belt. Boxing has champions and they have contenders. When you have the best contender is supposed to get a shot at the champion. And the organization that is responsible for it is supposed to make it mandatory upon the champion to defend his titles. That is a basic premise in boxing that the WBC balled up and threw out of the window for Canelo. Canelo didn't have to fight Jermall Charlo. So They raise the drug, the acceptable levels of a performance-enhancing drug so that Canelo can do the same thing he was doing before, but not have to worry about getting caught. Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight a mandatory. So what do? Just create a whole new belt, a whole nother circumstance so that Canelo can get what Canelo wants, which is not to fight Jermall Charlo, apparently. Right? Now, they come with the WBA the WBC 168-pound championship. That, by the way, David Benavidez had and lost on the scale. They did not order somebody else to fight for that. That fight was months ago. They did not order anybody else to fight for that belt. They let that belt stay vacant. They could have ordered somebody to fight, but they knew, at least in my opinion, who they wanted to have that belt. And that is Canelo Alvarez. Now, here's my question. Are you now going to franchise him at 168 so that if Jermall Charlo moves up to 168, he doesn't have to fight Canelo there either? Right? So now that Canelo Alvarez is a unified champion at 168, fighting the weakest garbage fighter in the entire division. And I don't care what you guys say. Callum Smith is garbage, okay? When you compare him to Jermall Charlo, when you compare him to Demetrius Andrade, when you compare him to Canelo Alvarez, that man is not a good fighter. That man does not have a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks to beat Canelo Alvarez. None. Okay? And people just say, well, he's 6'3". So what? He's 6'3" and can't fight. Okay? Sergey Kovalev was 6'2" and he's washed up alcoholic. So what if he's 6'2"? How tall was John Ryder? Was John Ryder 6'2" when John Ryder beat Callum Smith? Or was George Groves 6'2" when he fought basically to an even dang near you could have picked him fight between him and Callum Smith? Come on, man. Canelo Alvarez is going through these Rocky Fielding, Sergey Kovalev. Now it's Callum Smith. What's the deal here? You trying to sell Canelo Alvarez to the UK fan base or something? He's not. Those guys are not the best fighters, man. Canelo Alvarez has not fought the best fighter in a division that he's been in since maybe the Gennady Golovkin fight. Maybe. And even when he fought Gennady Golovkin had looked suspect in the fights before. I like Canelo Alvarez a lot for his talent. I like Canelo Alvarez a lot for his skill. But the WBC and boxing in general is treating this guy like another level of prima donna, dude. And it really should change. Because I hate saying it because, they're not embarrassed by it. I'm not embarrassed for them. But, dude, it just makes it seem like such a farce from my standpoint. Where I can tell you, I know what they want to do with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez ain't going to fight anybody. Canelo Alvarez is just now a paycheck for the WBC. He's a paycheck for the WBA. And now he's a paycheck for himself because he cut Oscar De La Hoya out of the money. But what good does that do if Canelo Alvarez is not going to fight top competition? So if he gets the WBA 168-pound championship, which he will, watch what's going to happen. If Jermall Charlo moves up to 168 pounds, Canelo Alvarez will get franchised by the WBC, and they will create a new category. We're the double franchise champion. You know what I mean? And then when he goes to 175, are you going to strip Beterbiev so he can get his hands on that, so you can concoct this story of Canelo Alvarez being the most dominant fighter in the world? He's not. He's not fighting the best competition. He's out there ducking people. Okay? He made a big name, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Canelo had a big name before that. He was growing it very well in Mexico. He's an excellent, excellent, excellent fighter. But once he got to the top, people just said, okay, he's the best of this bunch. We don't need to look at the rest. We don't need him to fight the rest. We don't need him to fight Jermall. We don't need him to fight Jermall. We don't need him to fight Jermall. We don't need him to fight Demetrius Andrade. We're just going to keep lining them up with tin cans named Smith. 10 cans named Liam, 10 cans named Fielding, that type of nonsense. But hey, man, that'll prove he's the best, right? Not in my book. But we'll see what happens when the 160 guys follow Canelo to 168 and then see how these guys find even more ways to prevent Canelo Alvarez from having to fight him. But that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.